In this video, we're going to show you how to bleed the brakes on your Toyota Camry. Underneath the hood, you want to go ahead and locate the master cylinder reservoir right here. It's on the driver's side firewall area. Now here's a cap here. I want to go ahead and grab that. I want to just kind of peel this up. It's not a screw-on. You're going to peel up that rubber cap and set it aside. Now we have an external reservoir here, a container to go ahead and capture the other fluid. We're going to suck this out using a vacuum tool. You can use something as simple as a turkey baster or another vacuum tool to go ahead and pull the old brake fluid out. Now the reason why we're doing this here is that we do not want to bleed the brakes with old contaminated fluid. So we'll remove what we can, top it off with some fresh fluid. Now on the inside of a reservoir, there's actually a little plastic screen in here, and it's in the shape of a cup. Now you can actually put your fingers in there and rotate this cup, and there's going to be little tabs that line up with the notches around the inside of this lip. So I'm going to use a pair of needle nose pliers, gently kind of line this up and wiggle this cup and pop it out. I'm going to slide that cup out. We'll set that aside. We're going to continue to evacuate the rest of that old fluid because now we can get down further into the bottom of this reservoir. Now at this point, we're going to clean up our cup with our screen on here. And here's the tabs we were talking about. You have to line up. So I'm going to drop those back down inside, get those tabs to line up. All right, push it down into place. Wipe off around the lip, around that cap rim and everything, clean that up. Now I want to go ahead and fill this up to the high mark, actually, because we're going to be bleeding this here. We can go ahead and fill this right up to the top because we are going to be losing some brake fluid as we bleed the system. So grab the appropriate brake fluid that is recommended for this vehicle. Fill it right up. Grab that rubber cap. Press it on. Now let's go ahead and start our actual brake bleeding process. Using a pry tool, go ahead and pop off your center cap. Using your 21mm socket, loosen and remove the lug nuts. Grab the wheel, remove it, and set it aside. Now we're going to start our brake bleeding process on the right rear of the vehicle. You can see our wheel is gone, and the brake bleeding port right here on the top is an 8mm. So it's best to go ahead around the vehicle, and you can use a socket and a ratchet and loosen these bleeder screws just a little bit and then tighten them back up before we start this process. It'll make it easier for you before you go ahead and dig into this. Now once you have that snug back down, you want to make sure that you have a container to capture the fluid as you bleed the brakes. Now we have someone up inside the vehicle, and what they're going to do is they're going to pump up the brake pedal about 3-4 times to make sure that pedal is nice and firm. Once they hold it firm, I'm going to open this up and let that brake fluid come out. That brake pedal inside the vehicle will go to the floor. Once that pedal is at the floor, we will tighten this bleeder screw, and we're going to repeat this process until all the fluid is clean and there's no air bubbles coming out of that line. Once that right rear is done, we're then going to proceed to the left rear, driver's side rear, then the passenger side front, and we're going to finish with the left front wheel. Let's go ahead and start this process. Now what we're going to do is get our port up here. I'm going to press that on to the bleeder. And now we're going to have that person inside the vehicle go ahead and pump up the brakes and hold them.
Holding.
Go ahead and use that wrench there to go ahead and open up that bleeder screw. can see that fluid coming down.
On the floor.
All right, so once you say it's on the floor, you want to go ahead and close that back up. That'll allow them to go ahead and repeat this process and build up pressure. Go ahead.
Holding. On the floor.
You can see we had some air bubbles come out of there, so we want to continue to do this. Go ahead.
Holding. On the floor.
Now we're still having air bubbles. Now we're going to continue this process. It could take you just a couple times, or it could take you several times to go ahead and make sure there's no air bubbles left in this. Go ahead.
Holding.
And we'll do one more time.
Holding. Floor.
So we'll go ahead and pop off our port here. You do want to make sure this is snug. You can use your ratchet if you want, or your wrench. If you have any brake fluid that is leaking out a little bit, you can use some solvent to spray that and clean it. All right, let's go over to the driver's side rear. All right, go ahead and pump it up.
Holding. Floor.
Okay, pump it up.
Floor.
All right. At this point here, pop off the drain port here, make sure this is snug. Give that a spray with some solvent to clean up some of that residual brake fluid. And then let's move to the right front. After you've bled the two back wheels, you want to go ahead and check the reservoir. You can see that we're low on fluid here, and you do not want to go ahead and empty this, because then you're going to start sucking air into the system, and you're going to have to start that whole brake bleeding process all over again. Remove the cap. And at this point, we're just going to go ahead and fill it up to the max line. Grab the cap, press that back on, make sure it's sealed. Now the front wheel is a little bit easier to get to if you go ahead and crank that wheel to the side so the caliper is facing out towards you. Okay, pump up the brakes.
Holding. Floor.
Okay, pump it up.
Holding. Floor.
Pump it up.
Holding. Floor.
And one more time.
Holding. Floor.
Perfect. There's no air bubbles, and we can see clean fluid coming out. So tighten that down, remove that, and over to the driver's side front wheel. Okay, pump it up.
Holding. Floor.
Okay, pump.
Holding. Floor.
One more time.
Holding. Floor.
Now at this point here, that pedal should be nice and firm on the inside of the vehicle. You'd always check with that person inside. Make sure when they pump it up, it holds that pressure.
Yep.
Feels good, okay. Remove the cap. And at this point, we're just going to go ahead and fill it up to the max line. Once you fill this up to the max line, you can go ahead and install your wheels, go for a road test, and at that point there, you're all set. Go ahead and grab that wheel, pop that back on. We're going to start all of our lug nuts by hand. Once we have all those started, we can go ahead and snug those down. Go ahead and torque your lug nuts down to 76 foot-pounds. I'm going to do this in a crisscross or star pattern. If you have a hubcap, I want to go ahead and line this up. You're all set.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.